Hello everyone and welcome back to the GoFr channel. My name is Divya Darshana and I'm one of the maintainers on GoFr, which is an open source Golang framework for accelerated microservice development. This is one of the getting started with GoFr videos where we will be introducing you to numerous features that GoFr offers in its framework to help you build accelerated microservices and also boost your developer productivity. In this video is about GoFr OnStart hooks, and we'll be using a demo of initializing in-memory cache the GoFr way, that is using these OnStart hooks to populate in-memory caches with external API data. So let's get started with GoFr. So this was actually a solution to one of the problems that the developer in our GoFr community was facing, and they actually reported it as a GitHub issue. So the challenge that they were facing was that they wanted to initialize an in-memory cache before the API starts, and they wanted to fetch that data from an external API to actually populate that cache. And along all of this, they also wanted to use GoFr's dependency injection properly. So now the issue that was arising with the framework at that time was that there was no actual method to do it using GoFr's container or context right when you're initializing your app in the main function, and that led to manual initialization, which would have bypassed GoFr's lifecycle management, which would have also led to duplicate configuration handling. So the solution that we thought of was OnStart hooks. Now what these OnStart hooks are, they are basically a lifecycle hook that runs before HTTP and gRPC servers start. So the benefits here is that you get access to fully initialized GoFr context, and you're able to use dependency injection, you're consistent with all the GoFr patterns, and we also follow fail-fast behavior. So now what is OnStart? Well, talking about it in detail, you can register the hook as app.onstart, which takes the signature of function that takes an argument CTX of GoFr context type and returns an error. After that, you can just write app.run in your main function, and so basically here what would happen is that first these OnStart hooks will get executed, and only after that your servers are going to start. Please note that this runs synchronously before any traffic arrives, and if in case you want to return an error, then at that time if the hook fails, the app won't start. That is the fail fast behavior that we follow here. Now you might be wondering, why do we need an actual function on actual method of OnStart on app? Why could we not just do it in main? In GoFr, you do not have access to GoFr's context in the main function, and you also do not have your services initialized to be called. At that time, that would have led to manual HTTP clients, and there's no dependency injection. But if you use OnStart, you get the full GoFr context, and all your HTTP services that you have registered are ready as use ctx.getHTTP service. You also get all the databases that you're connected to through the context. So you also follow proper dependency injection. So basically in this video, to see how OnStart hooks basically works in GoFr, we'll be initializing an in-memory cache, and here is a basic solution architecture that I have sketched out for it. So basically we are just going to register an HTTP service as app.addHTTP service. Then the OnStart hook is going to get executed, where we will be initializing the cache, fetching the data from an external API, and then populating the cache. Then after that, any of the HTTP endpoints that we hit, then we get the actual cache data from the populated cache itself. So moving forward, this is that small demo that we have. So first you will be initializing the app as gopher.new, and after that we will be registering our external HTTP service through app.addHTTP service, and we give the name of the service name, that is external API, and the service address. Then we'll be initializing a cache using the factory function new cache. So our cache has a mutex and map of string, and the value can be anything. We have methods like set, get all on our cache, and then we have handlers defined to get all cache, get cache by key, get sample data, etc. So if you see here, we have the OnStart hook. So if you initialize the OnStart hook as a method on app as app.onstart, which takes function ctx of GoFr context type. Now this context has everything that you need, from loggers two HTTP services that you can get as ctx.getHTTP service and give the name of the external API. After that, you can call the API any get, put, post, any call. And here we are making a get call because we to get the response. After that, we are reading the response. Then we are parsing the JSON response into our map of string and interface. And then we are storing it in a cache using the method set that we have on cache. So now we have different endpoints defined to get our cache. So I'll be starting by writing go run main.go. So as you can see that our app has started at the port 8000 and we have successfully fetched the data from external API, the endpoint from which we have fetched, and now we can just write a curl command, curl http closed 8000 /cache. Now this is the endpoint that is going to give us all the information that we have fetched from that endpoint and pre-populated the cache. So when we hit, you can see that we got all the information. So now this is a very basic demo and that's it. Moving forward, what are the key takeaways that we get over here is that OnStart runs before the server start, which ensures that the initialization completes before accepting traffic. You have the full context access, that is, you can use dependency injection with HTTP servers, loggers, and other GoFr services. You can call all the external HTTP services, making inter-service calls using the get HTTP service. This also makes it easier for you to handle headers or any kind of circuit breaker configs or retries that you want to give to calling your services instead of manual HTTP clients. And we also follow a fail fast for critical and graceful degradation for the other cases. Like for fail fast, you can just return an error, and when you do not return an error, you can have a graceful degradation of any of the processes that you actually process in the OnStart hooks. Now this was one use case, that is having in-memory cache, but there are also other use cases for which this hooks can be used in your application. Few of them are actually below, that is pre-flight checks, where you can verify the dependencies before you start serving traffic, the downstream services. You can also use it for cache warming, that is pre-populating Redis or other caches. Database seeding, where you want to seed initial data in your dev or staging environments. Worker pool initializations, where you want to start background workers. Configuration loadings, where you want to fetch and validate configs from external sources. And also connection validation for those testing those data sources connections that are not provided actually right now in GoFr. So if you add those data sources, you can test the data sources connections in the OnStart hooks. Please note that in all of this, the pattern that you have to follow is that you use the OnStart to access GoFr's context, and you can initialize whatever you need. And that's it. You can find the complete code for the small demo that I showed in the GitHub repository. The link is in the description. That has the full implementation, in-memory cache example, external API integration, the API endpoints, and it is ready to run. You just have to clone it and you can run it. For any other issues that you have and for any other doubts, you can come and join a Discord channel. You can come and visit the repo at github.com/gofr-dev/gopher if you're interested to learn more about the framework, or if you're interested in contributing to the framework. You can find our official documentation at gofr.dev. And if you like this video, please comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, happy coding with GoFr.